Am I live? Am I? Am I live? Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the 5G4D stream. Very exciting. You look at the little thing in the corner, which says how many people are watching, and it says 0 at the moment. That's good, isn't it? I've been trying to teach myself gigantic in the last half hour by the Pixies. That's it, isn't it? That's it, isn't that? Anyway, welcome to the 5G4D stream. You're lucky you've got me because I went on a bike trip for the first couple of days of the week, and I'm not in very good shape at the moment because it's post-winter and it was my first bike trip, and I did 200k in 2 days, and my poor old legs were absolutely bloody knackered. But I'm all right now. Kabuki Kid, hello, how's it going? Yeah, so welcome to the stream. This is very exciting. I'm going to quickly go on the YouTubes because I'm looking at this now. I don't know if I've set this up. Have I set it up? Yes, I have. So, not that this will be interesting for anyone, I'm sure, but long story. I wrote an essay. I wrote an essay a couple of years ago, longer, because I found that there's quite a puritanical streak in board games, right? And there's this kind of attitude that board games are. So I think board games are rapidly becoming art. I think part of becoming art is being spoken about in terms of being art, but also in the subjects that they deal with. And I mean, if you look at novels and you look at paintings and you look at film and you look at music, it expresses itself in different ways and for different audiences. And you know, you get stuff, Quentin Tarantino and Paddington. Although I think, you know, the first two Paddington films are probably better than anything Tarantino's ever done. But they are pitched to different audiences. They have a different stylistic sensibility and they have a different register, right? And Tarantino likes using the swear words, and you're not going to use the swear words in Paddington, right? And the thing is, I felt that there was this uniformity. So there's this idea that games should be for everybody. And I think gaming, by and large, should be for everybody. I'm not sure every game should be for everybody. And that's a number of reasons, right? That could be complexity, whether that be too difficult or not difficult enough. Good afternoon, Matthew. Or whether, you know, the subject matter it deals with and all of this. And register is a thing, right? So I wrote this essay and I recorded it I released it as a podcast. And then about a year later, I released it as a video, and it's called A Defense of Swearing in Board Games. And it is a very sweary piece, but it's a serious kind of essay dealing with why I think swearing is an absolutely brilliant use of the language, how it is the spanner and the screwdriver of English, how the F word is just incredibly utilitarian. And I grew up using swear words, having swear words as part of my vocabulary from an early age, and it didn't damage me as a person. It didn't arrest my development. And so I wrote this piece, and it's very sweary, and it uses all the words, right? It uses all the words, including the one, and you know which one it is, including the one that we don't like to say. It's the strongest one in English. Matthew, good evening. And it's the strongest one in English. And so I wrote this, and I did it as a video. And I think it's a pretty good video, and you won't find it on the channel anymore. And I will tell you why. So, a while ago, I hit the threshold for monetization on the YouTube, right? And you have to apply, and then they look through your channel. And then they tell you yay or nay. Well, I applied for monetization of the YouTube channel, and it got rejected, and it said harmful content. Now, about a week before that, I'd had one of my live streams from 2 years ago, because I did a series of live streams a couple of years ago, and then I stopped doing it because I didn't have the equipment and things anyway. And one of my live streams from 2 years ago got pulled. And the reason they said was for medical misinformation. Now, it would have been during the pandemic, so I assume I must have made some joke about COVID or something. And they'd taken it as medical misinformation. So I thought this was the reason I'd been denied monetization. And so I had to wait a month. Then I waited a month and I applied again, and it said, no, you're not allowed for harmful content. And I thought, this is weird. And the thing is, I think it was the second time I applied, and they said, you can't apply for another 4 months now. I was like, oh, bloody hell. And so I couldn't apply for another 4 months. And during that time, I realized, oh, I know why now. I know why they've rejected my thing for monetization. It's because of that essay, that video essay with all the swear words in it. So I deleted it, and then I waited 4 months. And May the 4th was the time. And so I reapplied, and today I got the email, and it's a long roundabout way of saying, today I got the email that says I am now eligible for monetization on my channel. Now, I'm sure this is of zero interest to anyone watching this, but on the YouTube channel, you can click a little dollar thing, you can have super chats and stickers and that, and you can donate to the channel, and the money comes, a lot of it goes to YouTube, I think. A lot of it goes to, and some of it goes to me. Now, these particular streams, it is of particular interest because I play music on these streams. Every stream gets demonetized because of me playing covers. And so any views that any money, I mean, I wouldn't get a lot of money from it anyway, but regardless, any money I would get from views, I wouldn't get. That would go to the people whose songs I play. But, and I did my research on this, any super chats, any super stickers, that sort of thing, if you donate, I get that, regardless of playing the music. I'm sure it's not of any, I feel really bad doing this, I'm English, but I'm sure it's not of any interest to anybody. But if anyone wants to donate, that would be great. I love having food and that. And so, yeah. So I heard some pretty bloody terrible news before I just came on the stream. I was just having a relax after I'd set up everything, and I worked out what songs I was going to play tonight. And then I looked at the newspaper and I found out that Steve Albini had died. Now, many of you might not know who Steve Albini was. Was is a terrible thing to say. But Steve Albini was a record producer. He was most famous. I knew the first time I'd seen his name because he produced In Utero by Nirvana. And of course, I bought In Utero on CD the day it was released. And of course, I was 17 at the time or whatever. And so I read the booklet back to forth, and I knew that. And I saw Steve Albini's name. And over the years, I'd sort of, with the advent of the internet, which is the wonderful thing, you're able to sort of research people. And I get into these phases of researching people. And I went into a phase of researching Steve Albini because Nirvana are that band for me. And so I realized he produced a lot of different people. A lot of classic albums were produced by Steve Albini, and also he made music himself. I started listening to Shellac about 6 or 7 years ago. Shellac was Steve Albini's band, and it is Steve Albini is hilarious because he's very earnest and very sardonic and witty at the same time. And I suggest I'm going to play a Shellac song tonight, and it's very Steve Albini, this song. And I think Shellac are wonderful, and the tragedy is they're releasing an album next week. They're releasing a bloody album next week. This is what happened with with Trugoy from De La Soul. They would their stuff had just been released onto streaming, and he died. Yeah, Shellac are releasing an album next week, which would have meant they would have probably done a tour, which meant I would have got to Steve Albini, and that's obviously not going to happen. So it's very sad. So that's all by way of saying I had my songs planned, and I've had to change them because I'm going to play Steve Albini songs that are produced or written by Steve Albini. So I've got a PJ Harvey song because he produced Rid of Me. I've got a Pixies song, but only Surfer Rosa because he only produced Surfer Rosa. So Surfer Rosa era. I've got a Shellac. Yeah, he was 61. Yeah, it's terrible. I've got a Shellac song. I've got a Pixies song. I've got a PJ Harvey song. And what was the other one? Oh, yes. And I've got a Nirvana song off In Utero. So I guess. Yeah, I think it's like 8 seconds or something. You're not allowed to swear until 8 seconds in, or something like this, I think. So I'm going to start with a Steve Albini song. This is the first track of 1000 Hertz, which is a very Steve Albini. Which is a very Steve Albini title because it's a pun. 1000 Hertz. Audio processing, but also 1000 Hertz. He was quite emo. He was also kind of quite mannish, but satirizing that as well. There's a brilliant song. I can't remember. Anyway, Steve Albini, wonderful. But this is the first Shellac song, and being a silly sort of goth twat as I am, this really appealed to me, and it's a great tune. I recommend listening to 1000 Hertz by Shellac. It's wonderful. And also, goes without saying, if you've got any questions for me on anything, I will answer questions on anything. I've been to the Discord and asked if they've got any questions. If you've got any questions on anything, I will answer questions on anything. And so this is Shellac. I'm starting off offensive. There's a lot of swearing in this one. To the one true God above, here is my prayer. Not the first you've heard, but the first I wrote. Not the first, but the others were a long time ago. There are two people here, and I want you to kill them. Her, she can go quietly, by disease or a blow, to the base of her neck, where her necklaces close, where her garments come together, where I used to lay my face. That's where you ought to kill her, in that particular place. Him, just fucking kill him. I don't care if it hurts. Yes, I do. I wanted to fucking kill him the first. Make him cry like a woman. No particular woman. Let him hold out, hope that someone or other might come. Then fucking kill him. Fucking kill him. Kill him already. Kill him. Fucking kill him. Fucking kill him. Kill him already. Kill him. Just fucking kill him. Fucking kill him. Kill him already. Kill him. Just fucking kill him. Fucking kill him. Fucking kill him already. Kill him. Oh, fucking kill him. Fucking kill him. Kill him already. Kill him. Kill him already. Kill him already. Kill him. Fucking kill him. Just fucking kill him. Fucking kill him. Kill him already. Kill him. Kill him already. Kill him already. Kill him. already. Kill him. Kill him already. Kill him already. Kill him. Amen. There we go. I may have lost monetization just for the amount of swear words. I don't imagine Steve Albini's estate. Oh, maybe he's dead now, but I don't imagine Steve Albini's estate will be particularly on that. Oof. Yes, I sent a slight antagonism. Yes. What is the volume of the Caspian Sea? What is the volume of the Caspian Sea? Here we go. Hey, Google. What is the volume of the Caspian Sea?
The volume of the Caspian Sea is 78,200 cubic kilometers.
There we go, 78,200 cubic kilometers. So, okay, let's get on to some questions. It's very exciting, isn't it? That's a swear. It's a very sweary song. Okay. So, meaning how loud is it? Yeah, that's right. 10. All right. So, we have a question from Crossow. What themes do you see becoming dominant in the next few years? What themes would you love to see brought to the table that haven't been done or not implemented well? What are 3 albums you consider flawless? What is the worst board game you unapologetically adore? Okay, so what themes do you see becoming dominant in the next few years? It's hard to say, isn't it? I'm trying to think of the kind of new stuff that's coming out. Are we over the nature thing yet? I mean, nature's very popular. The thing is, this sounds really bloody silly, but I think it's really dependent on whether Donald Trump wins the next election. The thing is, if Donald Trump wins the next election, everyone, apart from rampant MAGA heads, are going to be just very scared. With good cause. I mean, the guy's a lunatic, right? And so if you notice in society the way social trends go, if you look at the 90s, and if you look at the 90s was able to indulge in a lot of dark stuff because the world, well, the Western world at least, was fairly stable at the time. And so we can indulge and think about dark stuff when the world is very stable. When the world is not stable, people want to escape and they want their entertainment to be escapist, and you see less and less. Mainstream cinema deals with less and less serious topics. And you've seen over the last 10 to 15 years, with the rise of the right, environmental trouble, and all of this, you've seen across all kind of art forms a sort of almost infantilization. If you look over the last 7 or 8 years, that it's all Star Wars movies or superhero movies, total escapism, not really confronting the problems of the day because everyone's just scared. So what themes do you see becoming dominant in the next few years? I think if Trump loses and he goes away, I think we could see more, it's hard to find a word, less comforting things. We can deal with different subjects. But nature is always popular. Trading is always popular. History. I mean, the thing is, I listen, so I'm as anxious as anybody. And I listen to a lot of history podcasts because there's something about history that is very comforting. Is it the sense that the world carries on, that these terrible things have happened and the world carries on? I don't know. We don't need more cat games because we've got 1,000 million cat games. Too many. I was saying 10 years ago there were too many bloody cat games. What themes would you love to see brought to the table that haven't been done or not implemented well? It's a really interesting question, isn't it? Because I would have said something grand human narrative that we have through the ages, and it tells the greatest story in art, I think. It's difficult to know until it comes, isn't it? I would like to see a really good. I was looking at the Halloween board game over there. I would love Trick or Treat Studios. I would love Trick or Treat Studios to do a really great horror game. The closest I can think of to a really great horror game is, well, there's two. There's Final Girl, but it doesn't evoke that tension. It evokes that tension, but it doesn't evoke the horror thing. Whereas I think City of Horror is brilliant. City of Horror feels like a zombie apocalypse. So yeah, a really good horror theme. What are 3 albums you consider flawless? All right, 3 albums I consider flawless. I was going to say I'm Wide Awake It's Morning by Bright Eyes, but I don't like Poison Oak much. So that's a flaw, no. I think Crooked Rain by Pavement is flawless. It's absolutely brilliant. I think White Pony by Deftones is every track is astonishing. I mean, honestly, God, I stumbled on a YouTube video because I wasn't into the new metal thing, and I stumbled into a YouTube video, and they were talking about how brilliant White Pony was. So I thought, give it a listen. This is the one great thing about the internet, right? You can give it a listen. So I gave White Pony a listen. God, it got me into Deftones. I'm going to see Chino Moreno's side project band Crosses in Prague. Bloody hell, in a month. And yeah, White Pony, brilliant. So we got Crooked Rain, White Pony. Boo, 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 boo. It's difficult, isn't it? I'm trying to think of really good albums. Let me have a look. Flawless albums. I've usually got a ready answer to this, but oh yeah, let's go for Green Mind by Dinosaur Jr. I think Green Mind is their best album. I think it's flawless. I think it's absolutely brilliant. What's the worst board game you unapologetically adore? I don't believe in guilty pleasures, so I don't think I think things stop being bad when you start liking them. I played Dobble the other night, which was surprisingly good. I mean, I wouldn't play it often, but it's surprisingly good. Michael Newsom says we need more cats, period. I love cats. I love cats. I'm just not interested in playing games about them particularly. It seems that games about holidays are crap. I can think of a couple of exceptions, but it seems like such a low hanging fruit theme-wise. Yeah, I've got Santa's Workshop, and I didn't play it last year. I got it delivered, and I didn't play it. So I don't know what it's like. I think it's a light worker placement, but it looks great, and I've got it on my shelf, and I can't wait to play it. Matt Green says flawless albums, Exit Planet Dust, Chemical Brothers, they're all right. I think around that time, sort of music-y, dancey music, I think Leftism by Leftfield is better, personally. Cuckoo, Curve, don't know. Viva Dixie Submarine Transmission Plot by Sparkle Horse, don't know it either. Don't know it. Ain't No Party Like an S-Club Party, Peter. Worst board game I adore, Storm Chasers. Silly game with a massive gimmick and a working spinning top. As I say, I think we should all decide. We should all just come together and say, no, guilty pleasures are bullshit. God, I've sworn loads. I'm not going to stop swearing now. Guilty pleasures are bullshit. There's no such thing as guilty pleasures. If you like something, and it's great and you should revel in it. Don't be embarrassed for shit you like. Okay, next question. Love the questions. So, Cthulhu Dreams asks, would you rather play one board game 100 times or 100 board games once? See, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard. But I think the thing is, I love playing games, and I am the kind of person, I have played like 100 games once. So I think it's 100 games once. I mean, it wouldn't help me as a reviewer because I need to play a game more than once to review it, but 100 games once. Yeah. And if you've got opinions on these, pop them in the comments. And, hate to say it, but just as a reminder, 5G4D is now monetized after months. So 5G4D is now monetized. If you want to give me super chats, super stickers, all of that stuff, you can. I'm just saying it's the options out there. That's all I'm saying. In a second, I'm having to do computer stuff, you see. I'm not a computer person by nature. Oh, just to say, on Friday, the first full actual play episode of 5G4D&D. It's happened where we got around the table and we played the first episode. We'd had a couple of drinks, actually. Not too many, but we'd had a couple of drinks and it was really good. And I edited it today and it's up on Friday. Really, if you haven't listened to 5G4D's role-playing stuff, I've done quite a lot of it on the show. If you haven't listened to 5G4D's role-playing stuff, I highly recommend this one. The atmosphere around the table is great. The players are fantastic. It's a lot of fun. It's adult fare, obviously. Not in that way, but yeah. What version of D&D? 5e. Yeah, so it's 5e. And it's an old, I have the book here, actually. Give me a second. It's an old Gygax module called the Temple of Elemental Evil. It's the original, not the re-release that they did, but the original one, which has been updated with 5e stat blocks. And I was graciously bought it by Steve J. Cyrek. And yeah, we're playing through it. And we did 4 episodes. You can go back and listen to those if you want. 4 prelude episodes with each, like a one-on-one with each character. And this is the first one with everyone around the table. Wow. Well, then listen to mine and see what you think. And yeah, it's the first time we've all sat around the table. You can go back and listen to the 4 prelude episodes. I think they're really good, all of them. They're not, you don't miss anything. You can jump in on this episode. It's just they tell you something about the characters that you're listening to, but you don't have to. But yeah, I recommend on Friday, listen to that. It's really good. I think it's really funny. There's sound effects and things, and I do lots of silly accents. So, next question. Richard Norkel asks, the big board game mega companies Hasbro Wizards and Asmodee are both in the position of responding to the financial winds blowing. If both were to disappear tomorrow, what would the hobby look like? So this is interesting, isn't it? So I think, so when I came into the hobby in 2012, it felt like the hobby was in the process of professionalizing. In the English-speaking world. It had been very professional in Germany for decades, but it felt like the English-speaking world was really starting to professionalize. Asmodee, and so Hasbro had Magic, which of course deeply professional, D&D deeply professional, but the board game thing was still had that. I mean, it still does to an extent, but it had that real sort of people in sheds doing their own stuff. And then Asmodee, along with Kickstarter, really professionalized the industry. I think if Asmodee went under, there would be a pretty big room for a bit because they own so many distributors as well. And so, I don't know, maybe you'd see a lot of, I mean, I'm not a business type, but I think you'd see a lot of issues with that. And I think as they were going down, you would see issues because I think they own so many distributors. And I think if they were, in dire straits, then they would probably stop distributing other people's games, which is an issue, right? So I think you'd see a massive migration onto crowdfunding. And then I think crowdfunding would become saturated, and I think you'd see the ramifications of that would probably be companies going under. I can't say anything, but I heard a fairly well-established board game company is going under currently and will not be around much longer. So I think that would be the issue. The thing is, what we've seen, I think there was a lot of fear around the huge amount of consolidation that Asmodee was doing, that it would sort of blandify the board game world. But this is the beauty, I think, of crowdfunding, is that people can still do interesting things. And I think the indie world will still exist. The indie world is harder for board games than it is for RPGs, because RPGs, you can have indie stuff with just PDFs, essentially. Whereas board games, you've got to produce something and you've got to produce it to a decent quality. But I think over time, so I think if they went down, you'd see a lot of issues. But I think the market would. So Germany would be fine because you've got these big companies, and then the market would settle. And I think if they went down, you would see a flurry. You'd see a flurry of companies go down, probably. And then after that, you would see a flurry of very small indie companies come back up. And the problem with indie companies is that they do wonderful stuff, but they're usually one person. And if one person loses the desire or has mental issues or physical issues, then that indie company just disappears. And it's an issue. I can think of one company, I'm not going to mention names, one company that was doing really wonderful stuff. They got bought out and then sold, and they're back with the independent owner, and they're not really doing much. And I think that's because the owner's having some issues, and that's a shame because they were really good. And I'm not going to mention the names. What keeps you going? I'm having extreme ennui. Being in my 40s currently sucks and need some positive juice. I can tell you, the thing that keeps me going is a timetable and a deadline. That I have to get a show out. I have to get an interview show out every 2 weeks. I have to do a minimum of a show a week. That's what keeps me going. It's the whole thing about work, right? Being in your 40s does suck. It's the first time. I think being in your 40s is the first time you really realize, oh my God, I'm old. And people look at me and think I'm old, But I cannot tell you. So because I make some money from this show, I have an obligation. I have an obligation to do the work. And I cannot tell you how much that keeps your head above water, thinking I've got to get a show out on Monday. That's what keeps me going. It's also a source of stress, but I don't think all stress is necessarily bad unless it becomes overwhelming. And so I absolutely I need that structure. I need the date. And I might leave things to the last minute, but it doesn't matter. I have that date there. And the thing is, this would be a dream job if I made more money, right? It doesn't pay enough for it to be a dream job, but I think I've built a great community. I think I built a great show. It has allowed me to meet incredible people I really respect, people I really admire, and people I really like fundamentally. It has got me trips to the States. It has got me trips to conventions. It has, I met the German culture minister because I have a podcast, right? I met the first guy who ever was employed at Google because I have a podcast. It's super cool. But work is work, right? And sometimes, and you can ask people who are close to me, sometimes it just gets you down. And sometimes you just think, what the fuck is the point? And, also, if I was making more money, and this time of year, and it's so immature, but nevertheless, it's true. When every year I singularly fail to win the Golden Geek, it pisses me off too. And it shouldn't. And it's going to piss me off less this year because I've kind of given up the idea of ever winning it. But sometimes it gets you down. But as I say, I've got a date and I've got to fulfill that date. I've got the date. I've got the deadline. I've got to do it. That's what keeps me going. And at the moment, I'm really enjoying doing it. I love doing this stream. But there are times when I don't enjoy doing it. And, that's kind of no one's business but my own, I think. I don't like the new media thing, particularly especially the new media thing, especially of sort of, if I'm down, spreading the muck of my depression all across the internet. It's not really my thing. I'm of a different generation, I think. But yeah, deadline. That was a long-winded way of saying just get a date, even if it's a self-imposed thing. Do it. Michael, is professionalizing a good thing in the long run? It's always weird when I see a Z in a zing word. I always think it should be an S. It's always very frustrating when I'm on Google Docs and I type, if I was going to type professionalizing, and then it'll put a red line underneath it. And I'm like, we invented the bloody language, mate. And then I've recently worked out how you change it to British English, but you can't do it by default. You can't go in the settings and say, I want my Google Docs to be British English. I have to do it every separate document. It's very frustrating. Anyway, is professionalizing a good thing in the long run? Yes, for a couple of reasons. Because professionalizing means certain things. Part of the reason games have gone up in price is because of the professionalization of the hobby. Why? Because you need to pay people. It's not just the standard in components, though certainly that's a contributing factor, but you have to pay people. Professionalizing is a good thing because I think, firstly, we want good stuff, right? We want our games to be good. Professionals doing it are gonna be better than amateurs, simply because they can devote their professional time to doing it. Does that mean that an amateur won't come along and make a brilliant game? I know lots of sort of gentlemen amateur game designers who make wonderful stuff. Tony Boudel is the absolute example of that. He's a brilliant game designer, but he does it as a hobby, essentially. But professionals do things better. They just do. When you're devoting your professional time to things, you're just better. And also, professionalizing fundamentally in the long run is a good thing, because I know lots of people in this industry that are great, and I think they should be paid for being great. And that's the fundamental thing. I think there's a lot of resentment over people who have better jobs than you, and I get it, but we should try. People should be as happy as possible, right? And I think if you love this industry and you love this art form, if you can work in it and it can pay you well, then that's the goal. And I think professionalization gives that to more people. And so professionalizing is a good thing in the long run. Absolutely. I remember speaking to someone about 10 years ago now, and we were talking about this, and he said something fascinating, which was, you have government grants for the arts. You don't have government grants for games, and that's something I would like to see. Brenda Romero's games, for instance, should be something that, is a government grant. The beauty about government grants for something is you then don't have to pander to the market, so you can really do what you want. Might that work out in something that is great? Possibly. It might work out in something that's hugely self-indulgent, but still, that's art. And from the self-indulgence, people get inspired from the avant-garde, weird self-indulgent stuff, and they go out and make brilliant things. So yes, professionalization in the long run is a good thing, I would suggest. All right, I'm going to play another song. Too many cables. All right. It's getting quite late in Berlin, and these are all quite loud songs because he didn't really do quiet songs, Steve Albini. This is a PJ Harvey song. This is a PJ Harvey song with a lot of palm muting, which is quite hard. I've just been cycling for 2 days and my wrists are quite tired. But, all right, this is a PJ Harvey song. It's a great album. I haven't listened to it in years. Tie yourself to me and no one else. Yeah, you're not rid of me. Yeah, you're not rid of me. Night and day, I breathe hot air. You're not rid of me. Yeah, you're not rid of me. Yeah, you're not rid of me. Yeah, you're not rid of me. I beg you, my darling, don't leave me. I'm hurt. your legs keep you against my chest. Yeah, you're not rid of me. Yeah, you're not rid of me. I'll make you lick my injuries. I'm gonna twist your hair to say, till you say, don't you show. Never, never matter, don't you show. Never, never matter, don't you show. Never, never matter, don't you show. Never, never, I beg you, my darling, don't leave me. I'm hurting, be lonely above everything, but every day I'm hurting. Let my legs up on fire, let my legs up desire, let my legs up on fire, let my legs on desire. Oh, you're not rid of me. Yeah, you're not rid of me. I'll make you kiss my angel face. I'm gonna turn your head upside till you say, don't you show. Never, never matter, 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 don't you show. Never, never matter. Lick my legs, I'm on fire. Lick my legs of desire. There we go. That's a great song. It's a great album, actually. It's the second PJ Harvey album, produced by Steve Albini. May he rest in peace. Great album. This is a bloody wonderful song. It is a wonderful song. Yes, it is a wonderful song. Just to remind you, as I'm busking on the internet, you can give super chats. You can donate to the channel. I finally got monetization after so long. I always champion you for the Golden Geek. I try doing my part. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I'm not very popular. All right, next question. This is another Hasbro-related one, I think. On the note of Hasbro, they've begun dipping their toes into the hobby board game industry with the game by Eric Lang. Excuse me. How do you think this will affect the industry if they actually allocate resources, grow their published game library? Well, they've been doing it for a while. They reopened Avalon Hill, and it kind of didn't bloody go anywhere, did it? They did, although the games were great. They did Betrayal Legacy. I thought Betrayal Legacy was absolutely fantastic. Very camp, very tropey. Loved it. They did Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. I haven't played it. They did the new version of Hujum Flagit, Betrayal at House on the Hill. I think what you would see, unless they decided to go full sort of hobby, full Euro hobby, I mean, what the ideal would be is if they kind of became a new Fantasy Flight and became a sort of pillar of the Ameritrash industry. That would be wonderful. But who knows? I don't think they will. I hope. You know, I don't know Eric Lang. I met him once and he was a very nice guy. I wish him all the best. And I hope this game does well. And I hope it perpetuates lots more things. Also, he designed one of my favorite games. I miss old school FFG. They used to be my favorite. Yeah, they led me by the hand into the hobby. I loved. And they've been gutted. It's a shame. So, another question. Here we go. Very exciting. Con season is on the way. What is your preferred board game gathering? Is there a con or gathering in your unfulfilled bucket list? So, my favorite convention of the year is LyriaCon. It is absolutely fantastic. It is 4 days on the Portuguese coast in March. It is debauched, but brilliant. There are really super interesting people there. I met Matthias Kramer there, Matt Gertz, Vital Lacerda, countless people from the industry go there because it's not like Essen. It's not business. So you get to do a bit of networking, but you also get to have a lot of fun, and it's really great. And I'm really surprised because Tony Boydell has been for a number of years, and fingers crossed he's coming back next year. But I'm surprised that Matt Green's never been to LyriaCon. It seems like the ideal thing. Gathering of Chums, Tony Boydell's convention, is wonderful. Very English. Is there a con or gathering in your unfulfilled bucket list? I guess Gen Con, right? I should go to Gen Con once. And, and I'd really love to. There's two that I'd really love to go to. Gen Con, I would absolutely adore to go because, you got to go to Gen Con. Tokyo Games Market. I think it's only a day, Tokyo Games Market. So it'd be a long time. It'd be a long distance to go for a day. But I really want to go to Japan anyway. Tokyo Games Market would be absolutely brilliant. And, Gathering of Friends has just finished. It's far too expensive for me, Gathering of Friends. But again, I experienced that once. But it's Gen Con and Tokyo Games Market, I think, are the two that I would really love to go to. So BJ Shrimpy Gumbo says you can pick one thing to happen in the next 3 years. Premier League championship for Liverpool or Ben wins the Spiel des Jahres. Now, I love Liverpool in that. I love Liverpool in that. And, it was great when we won the league a few years ago. And, it was a shame that we won it in COVID, so it couldn't be done in front of a crowd. But winning the Spiel des Jahres, I'll win the Spiel des Jahres, thanks. I think if I won the Spiel des Jahres, I'd be all right for a couple of years financially. So, yeah, I'll win the Spiel des Jahres, thanks. It's funny. I speak to people who've won the Spiel des Jahres, Alan Moon, Donald X. Vaccarino, and surely they must make a lot of money. I know. Obviously, Alan Moon's very wealthy now, but anyway, yeah. No, I'll win the Spiel des Jahres, thanks. Don't think it's going to happen, but what is the best song remake of all time? A remake that overtakes the original? It's a hoary old, obvious answer, but it is the answer, I think, and that's All Along the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix. To the point that most people don't realize it's a cover. And if you listen to the Dylan version, it really isn't as good. It just isn't as good. And it is the answer. I could think of something obscure or something, but it has to be All Along the Watchtower by Hendrix. It's the best cover version of a song ever done, I think. Or Torn by what's her name? Natalie Imbruglia. Most people don't know that's a cover as well. It's a brilliant song, and that was a cover. Hello, Tony. Yes, R.I.P. Steve Albini. As I said, Shellac were releasing an album next week, and they would have probably done a tour on the back of it, and I could have gone and seen them. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting, though, isn't it? It's really interesting that when you look at people you like and people you admire and artists that you're fans of, you think, do I would love to meet them. But there's certain people I think I probably wouldn't get along with. And I don't think I would have got along with Steve Albini. He struck me as a very serious man. And I'm very childish. There was a game designer I met recently who's a very nice guy, but I got the distinct impression he did not like me at all because I'm not a serious individual. Wow, you've seen Shellac a few times. How were they? All I know is that Steve Albini had an interesting way of wearing his guitar strap. But yeah, write in the comments how they were. I'm sure they were great. So this is a controversial question. Well, it's not a controversial question, but I think I might give a controversial answer. So just watched up a follow story on Puerto Rico, and I do wonder what you think overall about cultural consulting. And I assume you mean within the board games. This is, who asked this? This is Doribund. Doribrood. What do I think overall about cultural consulting? I think mostly, and I think definitely within the board game industry, it's a grift. I think it is. So it's undeniable. People didn't think about stuff 20 years ago. Puerto Rico didn't think about it. No one cared. And they brought out games. And, you know, Puerto Rico's dodgy thematically. Sure. I agree with that. But I think so firstly, games can model terrible things, and they don't have to intrinsically endorse them. And the fact that you're playing from the side of the horrible person can be very valuable and can teach very valuable lessons. These things exist. Reality is a thing. But it's clear to me. Board gaming is such a small industry with such low margins. And at one point, Twitter was so powerful within the world of board games that people would tick a box just to make sure Twitter didn't lose their shit, right? And so cultural consulting, by and large, is a grift. Cultural consulting, by and large, is people donating their sex or their skin color to a rule book to stop Twitter having a go at them. The fact is, and I'm very much a believer in this, we need to talk about Kevin. What's her name? I've just discovered Google Assistant. Hey, Google. Who wrote We Need to Talk About Kevin?
We Need to Talk About Kevin's story was written by Lionel Shriver. Yeah,
Lionel Shriver. I don't know how long things were ago, but it was a number of years ago. She opened the bell. She opened the. Lynn Ramsey directed the movie. She opened the Melbourne Literary Festival, and she appalled the audience by writing a speech saying, "You don't need to be from a certain culture to write stories set in that culture," and I'm a believer in that. I think you should respect things. I think basically, essentially, we're human beings. I think the things that make us different aren't so wide apart that we can't have empathy with people's experience. You need to be incredibly... I think if you're born a billionaire, then you might have an issue otherwise. I think this idea that I have this experience that can only be my experience because of where I was born or what color of skin I have or who I like to make love to is a very mean and very possessive form of thought. I think we are essentially an empathetic animal. This is our strength as an animal, I think, and we can see through the eyes of other people. But that means if you're going to represent people from other cultures, if you're going to write stories set in cultures that aren't your experience, you need to be very respectful of that. You need to do your research, and you need to make sure that you don't slip into tropes that are disrespectful or just plain wrong. But that doesn't mean you can't. And we have, and I think this is through people going crazy on social media by and large, we have developed into a culture in which we've ghettoized our culture and say we can only talk about these things. And I believe it's the death of art. And actually, I don't think it's tenable within the world of art. So cultural consultancy is a way of you being able to set something in a different culture and putting someone in the front and saying, look, we asked this person about it. And I'm sure some do more than others. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it's a grift essentially. And so I think you should judge the work, not the person who did the work. And so the point is, if I were to write a story set in Nigeria, for instance, right? You should judge whether I have respected and researched that culture, whether the story is plausible, whether it syncs with reality, rather than the fact I happen to have this color skin and come from England. The art is everything. And we have art criticism has become about identity, which everything has, massive ad hominems, and saying you can't do this because of unalterable characteristics. That is the death of art. We should be free to express ourselves. And then we should also be free to be hugely criticized if we don't respect things too. There should be ramifications for our mistakes. At the same time, this idea that you can just say Gollum is this great example, right? They got the Rabbi of Milan to sign off on it. What he did, I don't know. But clearly saying in the rulebook we got the Rabbi of Milan to sign off on this game is just essentially sticking someone in front saying, look, some of my best friends are Jews. So cultural consultancy is good if they help you, if cultural consultants help you to really give verisimilitude to the work. But if they're there just as a shield, it's a grift. This is why independent art is so important. I saw a movie today set in Georgia about a 50-year-old virgin who loses her virginity and finds love after years of abuse. Independent art is so important. Before we started watching, before I started doing this, I was watching the Netflix series Is It Cake? Right? Absolutely moronic, very entertaining. There has to be room in life for Is It Cake, and there has to be room in life for, I'm trying to think of an arty film I watched recently. I can't, but an arty film. We need everything. All right, it's getting before 10 o'clock, and if I play after 10 o'clock, I'm going to get complaints. So I'm going to play one more song, and I'll answer the rest of these questions. But I've had a request, and I'm going to mess it up. And I think I know the words to this one, so I don't have to look at the other thing. But this one's for Matt Green. This is another Steve Albini produced song off Surfer Rosa. I don't think it's actually on Surfer Rosa, but I think it's a single released at the time, but produced by Steve Albini. It was written by, my memory for names is awful. The Breeders, Kim Deal. It was written by Kim Deal, and is it the best Pixies song? I think Hey is the best Pixies song, but this is a good one. And this I know, his teeth as white as snow. What a guess it was to see him, who walking every day into a shady place. In the dress he said, hey Paul, hey Paul, hey Paul, let's have a ball. Hey Paul, hey Paul, hey Paul, let's have a ball. Hey Paul, hey Paul, hey Paul, let's have a ball. Gigantic, 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 a big, big love. Gigantic, 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 a big, big love. Lovely lazy eye, big blind and a hunk of love. You're walking every day into a shady place. at the dark, but I want him. Hey Paul, hey Paul, hey Paul, let's have a ball. Hey Paul, hey Paul, hey Paul, let's have a ball. Hey Paul, hey Paul, hey Paul, let's have a ball. Gigantic, 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 a big, big love. Gigantic, 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 a big, big love. 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 Gigantic. Yeah, I mean, that was all right. It wasn't brilliant. I made a couple of mistakes. But it was all right. So, Gouge Away and Tame are on Doolittle, not produced by Steve Albini. Cactus, yeah, I think that's on Surfer Rosa, isn't it? In Heaven, don't know the names of things, so maybe. Yeah. Anyway, I'll carry on with the questions. I'm probably not going to rate my shelves tonight because I'm nearly at the end, but I had a lot of questions. And this is good. I like the questions. Even if they're stupid questions like this one. Oh, Matt Green, thank you very much. He's just given me a $5. This is my first donation on YouTube ever because, as I said, I'm now monetized on YouTube. So you can give me donations, you can give me tips. And Matt Green has just given me a £5 super sticker. Thank you very much. I'm not sure how much the pound is worth at the moment, but that's got to be more than €5, isn't it? So thank you very much, Matt. Just to say, the rest of you, if you feel the need, you can request songs and then give me money if you want. But wow, that's exciting. So, famed board game designer Isaac Shalev asks, would you rather play Twilight Struggle with a man or a bear? Now, depends. If the bear is restrained in some way, obviously with the bear, because if I play against any other human being, I'm going to lose. Whereas I might have a fighting chance with a bear, though probably, he'd beat me. But I'd have a fighting chance. So with a bear, if it's restrained. Look at that, 5 GBP, 6.25 USD. I'm going to US in sort of 6 weeks-ish. So, and anyone, because I know America's not a big place. You can just drive anywhere, basically. If anyone's going to be in Reno for RageCon, I'm going to be there as a special guest. I'm going to be hosting games. I'm going to be playing a gig with Johnny Pack Cantin. And if you're going to RageCon, go there. It'd be great. We can have a drink together. Surfer Rosa is by and far my favorite, and I think they're best, but I get the appeal and smoothness of the songwriting of Doolittle and Bossa Nova. I really love Doolittle. Doolittle was the first one I got into. I think Hey is fantastic. I think Tame is fantastic. I think Gouge Away is fantastic. I think Surfer Rosa has a rougher quality. It has more of a Steve Albini quality to it. But I think Doolittle is my favorite Pixies. I haven't listened to any of the new stuff. I listened to some Frank Black solo stuff, and I've been listening to Breeders recently. But I've listened to none of the new Pixies stuff. But I think it's good they're writing stuff, Matt's Rated Blade Coates asks, is there a period of history that you would like to see explored more or differently in board games? I am currently completely obsessed with the English Civil War. And I'm obsessed with the English Civil War, not just because it was a very interesting period in history and it resulted in Britain for 10 years being a republic, which is fascinating. A protectorate, actually. They were antsy about calling it a republic, so they called it a protectorate. But what's so fascinating about the English Civil War is the sort of anarchy unleashed, sort of a lot of sort of very interesting political movements, sort of proto-socialists like the Levelers and the Diggers, and then sort of sexual sexual liberationists like the ranters. And I'm reading a book at the moment on that sort of on the Stuart period and the upheaval it caused. And at drama school, I was in a play called The World Turned Upside Down, which was set in the English Civil War, and I played Gerard Winstanley, the leader of the Diggers, and he was sort of a proto-socialist. You know, the Levelers were looking for enfranchisement, I think, of every man. Of course, they didn't extend it to women, and you know, that was a revolutionary thing at the time, everyone getting a vote. And then the Diggers were sort of anarcho-communists, essentially, that they said everyone should have their piece of land, their own community, and they should fend for themselves. And it's fascinating stuff. And, you know, socialism in many ways was born during that period. Cruel Necessity from Worthington seems a good game on the Civil War. It's a solo board game. Oh, I might look into that. So I'd love to see more games on the English Civil War. Matt Green asks, the Beastie Boys, yes or no? So I'm gonna tell you a story about my youth. My life of crime started because of the album License to Ill. Because Mike D, I think it was Mike D, wore a Volkswagen sign with a chain around his neck. And that precipitated, in England definitely, I don't know whether it was around the world, but precipitated in England the theft of many Volkswagen ornaments from cars. Kids used to go around at night just stealing them so they could have a chain like Mike D. And I stole one off the front of a camper. So it was a massive one. Big thing. And what's so funny about it is that you kind of couldn't wear them in public because you'd nicked your neighbour's Volkswagen sign. Anyway, so Matt Coach said that definitely happened in the US. And I was absolutely in love with License to Ill when it came out. I had the Gatefold album on vinyl. I thought they were wonderful. And then I only really started listening to them again around the Ill Communication period because I missed Paul's Boutique completely. I've certainly gone back over that time and reappraised them, but I missed Paul's Boutique. I missed Check Your Head, and then I got back into them with Ill Communication, which I think is still my favorite Beastie Boys album. And so Beastie Boys, yes, no, absolutely yes. I think they were absolutely fantastic and revolutionary in many ways. And I was definitely sad when MCA died. They were one of my first ever favorite bands, Beastie Boys. Absolutely spectacular. So we have Jens der Hammer Volkmann asks, if you could forget everything about a game so you could enjoy discovering it a second time, what game would it be? And this is a fascinating question. And put your views in the comments, because I was thinking about this, and it seems on the one hand a sort of quite plausible sort of mental thing, but then I think about my favorite game, which is Through the Ages, right? And I don't want to go back to not knowing Through the Ages. It is more familiarity with the game that makes the game better, that makes it more enjoyable, that allows me to investigate the different pathways. It was less enjoyable when I didn't know it. So certainly not that one. And I think there are many games that this applies to. I think games improve. But, so the obvious answer, I guess, is Pandemic Season 1, and that's why I'm not going to say it. I remember when and I've written about this a lot, the first time I think I sat down, and so the first game, the game that really blew my head off was Pandemic. But the first time I think I sat down and independently came to a conclusion about a decision I was going to make in a game, and I suddenly realized, I'm doing it. I don't think it is dated. I think Sure Shot is brilliant. Sure Shot doesn't sound dated at all. I think Ill Communication is still wonderful. Anyway, although you could argue that maybe Check Your Head sounds a little less dated. But yeah, so the first time I was sat there and I had a handful of cards and I just went, if I do this and they do that and then I do this, but they think I'm going to do this, so I should probably do that, and that will result, thoomph, was Libertalia. And I remember the exhilaration of having made an important decision in that game. And I thought, yeah, now I understand. And so most games, especially if they're complex games, I don't want to go back. But that feeling was so great. It was, again, another reason that I got dragged in, And so, yeah, maybe that one. All right. So, well, if you've got no more questions and no more super chats, I think it is. I've been going for an hour and 10 minutes now. Wow. So thank you ever so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining in. I love the comments. Thank you so much for listening to the show, watching the YouTube channel, all of that great stuff. And, excuse me, I am going to go and I'm going to finish watching. Is it cake? I don't know. That's the question. I just don't know.